Okay. Check. Can you still hear me, Franz?
Yes, loud and
Oh,
clear.
all right. I think we're recording now. Yeah, it's kind of cold. I'm in the balcony, and I think it's about to rain. So hopefully, oh, I think it's raining. I think it's raining now. Let wait. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't get yeah, hopefully it's not that strong, but yeah, because it's a bit yeah, inside I have like usually during these parts of the year, I usually take the table like in the balcony because the sun would shift, and so it's not hot anymore. Yeah, but the problem is like during those times as well, it's also the rainy season. So yeah, but in any case, we were supposed to. So this is like the our fifth session, France, right? This is like
Yeah,
how do you say this?
it's
The
for
May.
me.
This is slotted for May 2023 Book Lovers Club. But we were supposed to do this like last week during the I think the Independence Day holiday. But oh, I don't know if you saw the
Yeah,
lightning
saw the
in the
lightning.
background. Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's really hard, but hopefully it doesn't interfere with the audio and everything. But yeah, we were supposed to do this last week, but we got busy. I fell asleep and everything. So yeah, we're doing this and now. But hopefully, the next one that Francis and I are gonna be discussing, it's also gonna be a short work of horror. So hopefully, I don't know, France. Maybe if we can discuss it like if next week or something, I think it's doable. It's so we're gonna show later what that work's gonna be, and then the one for July we talked was the entire story of your life collection by Ted Chiang, right? Uh,
Yeah.
are we still gonna go ahead with that?
Um, for this month.
No, no, no. That's for next. That's for July because this month is supposedly the horror one, which we're gonna
Ano,
discuss
yeah,
hopefully like
we can go with
in
it.
like in
July.
1 or 2 weeks, something like that. But yeah, this entire collection of Dead Chiang thing. This is like towards the end of July, for example, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it's gonna be the topic. But in any case, let me introduce. So in the last episode we introduced the work that we're gonna discuss, and it's actually this the a short story by Ken Liu called the Paper Menagerie. So this is his short story collection, the Paper Menagerie, and other stories. So as you can see here, you have Lao Hu, which we're gonna meet later, when we talk about the story. But yeah, he's I think Ken Liu's rise to fame is initially in translating so there's this other Chinese science fiction writer, Cixin Liu, who wrote the very good. Hopefully, like in future episodes, we can discuss this. But he wrote a trilogy of novels that began with the three body problem. It's called. So it's a very nice hard sci-fi uh, uh, science fiction work, but it was initially written in Chinese, and it was Ken Liu who like gave us the translation to that, and then who essentially bridge. And then afterwards, he had like some other translations of nice works of Cixin Liu. I'm not sure if they're related. They have like I don't know the same Liu name, but I don't know if they're related or not. Maybe they're not related. So Ken Liu is of course younger than Cixin Liu. Cixin Liu is like a pioneer in Chinese science fiction. But in any case, yeah. After that, so Cixin Liu has some other works as well. But this one, the Paper Menagerie collection of his, especially the title story, it's very fascinating because when he wrote it, I believe back in 2011, it won the big hitter awards in genre fiction. It won the Hugo, it won the Nebula, and it won the World Fantasy Award. And in fact, it's the first short story that garnered all three of those awards together. So I'm pretty sure there were stories before who got Nebula and Hugo who got both award, but not the those three. And so we're gonna be discussing. Francis and I is gonna attempt to uncover what made this story very fascinating in the first place. So, Franz, why don't you we do the usual where you give a very brief overview, non-spoilery overview of what to expect going into the Paper Menagerie, right? Like why should people read this? The Paper Menagerie.
For Paper Menagerie, First thing I would, uh, I think, yeah, I think I wouldn't tell it the initial way I thought because it would really spoil the story. But
Yeah, I know.
but one thing I could say is it would take you for a ride, a very
Yeah,
good
it's
ride.
yeah. I remember, yeah, I think the first time I read this was like before I did my postdoc around like 2017 or early 2018, like that. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
really etched into my memory, like very powerful, very emotional. So it's fairly short, Franz, like, but would you call it, because the how do you say this? So our fourth session no, sorry, this our fifth session supposed to be fantasy, right? Because we're doing sci-fi, fantasy, horror, sci-fi, fantasy. So we're doing that pattern. So the one that we discussed last February for fantasy was, of course, Ursula Le Guin's Those Who Walk Away from Omelas, and of course Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. And so this one, how would you like sell it? Like, because is it like a fantasy or like hardcore fantasy or something like that?
I wouldn't really say it's hardcore fantasy, but it has enough of the fantasy element. I mean,
Mm,
um, the fantasy element in this story is just enough. It's not really though it's one of the uh cruxes of the story, but
mm,
um, it it's it's not the, let's say, the main theme really in this story. I would say it's more on the drama side, dramatical side, emotional
mm,
side. And the fantasy here is like a tool or that amplifies the effect of the story, the emotion that story invokes. So I think here in the Paper Menagerie's case, the fantasy element here is like a supporting, doing a supporting
yeah.
part than laying out rather than being up in the foreground, dictating
Mm-hmm.
the story.
Yeah, and again, yeah, because when you say fantasy to people, the usual things that come to their minds, are like
Yeah,
medieval
magic.
setting,
So
dragons,
yeah,
magic, yeah, right,
dragon.
and orcs and elves and all those things. So this is like so this it's nothing like that. So I think it revolves. So the setting is a very modern, and in fact they have a like a specific term for that, some genre in fantasy. I believe they call it urban fantasy. Where
Mhm.
when you hear urban fantasy, then okay, then I don't expect the usual dragons and epic war, and you have very intricate maps and all these things. And
Yeah,
but I think, yeah, it even falls into this another very specific subgenre, France, that I think you can remember from back in college when we discussed Philippine literature. This thing called magic realism, where you
yeah,
have,
yeah,
remember Salamanca, right? Where
yeah.
it's a very realist mode of story, but then sprinkled here and there are a few slices of magic and stuff. And yeah, sometimes you even ask, like, yeah, it's not really a spoiler, but yeah, somewhere here, right, the main character would say that as he grew up, he's not even sure, right, if the one that he witnessed, the magic elements that he witnessed when he was a kid, were actually real, like so
Yeah.
some of those elements, yeah. But yeah, magic realism, something like that. So
It's bordering
yeah,
on it was a
y-
dream.
yeah, something like, oh, was I just dreaming or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, very minimal, but still very very essential, to drive the story forward. Okay, so but I think, yeah, we can now
Yeah.
start discussing, with the very important how do you say this uh origami, right? Of the
Origami.
of the of the tiger in France. So why don't you, France, give? So now this is now the section where we spoil the story. So if you haven't read it, please do so, because it's really very emotionally impactful, this particular work right here. So I believe we can now, Franz, give a very brief summary of how the story goes and then what it is about.
Yeah, the story is about it's about a guy who's who has a mixed race, who's of
Mm,
mixed race descent. His father was uh, American and his mother was Chinese. However, and then he recalls his memories of how he grew up, particularly on how his mom and dad met. So his mom was a what do you call this? I think the term was I'm not sure if it's bride for sale or
yeah,
a
something
mail
like, yeah,
order bride. It
something
was
like
like
that. Yeah, they were like
it,
advertised for sale or something. Yeah,
yeah, she was like a
like
mail
that
order bride
that dad
where
saw her on some catalog. I think that's how
yeah,
he described it. Yeah.
where his dad saw the way his dad chose his mom was through a catalog and then
Yeah.
he placed his order,
Mm,
which indicates that his mom knew how to speak English. But
yeah.
then after his father placed the order, they found out that she barely spoke any. So that was also one I think one of his experiences growing up with a mom that barely speaks his homeland's language. So he learned how to speak both. He would translate for his parents
Mm,
when they were conversing because his father also didn't learn Chinese. So and then at first then he one of these most vivid his most vivid recollections when he was young was the origami or paper folded um art by his mother, which were particularly animals, origami of animals. So the first was a tiger. Was it a tiger? That one in the
yeah, it's the tiger. It's
one in
Lao Hu.
the
I'm not sure if like Lao Hu is really the Chinese for, yeah, maybe we can Google it very quick. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So whenever he felt
yeah,
sad or
indeed, it's
down,
it's exactly Lao Hu. Yeah, the
yeah,
Chinese for tiger. Yeah, it's Lao Hu. That's
his
this guy.
mom would get the Christmas present wrappers and then she would fold it into an animal origami. And the first was a tiger. And during that time when he was young, he was contented with the paper animal paper uh origamis. And however, this is where the fantasy side comes in. She had his mother would breathe literally breathe life on the origamis. Not it won't make them real animals, but the origamis would spring to life and they would move and act and behave like their counterparts.
Mhm.
Like Lao Hu would the tiger aside from the tiger, her mom also made was it buffaloes or cows?
Yeah,
I
water
think
buffalo. I think she made like a deer, a boar. So he
yeah,
really has
deer,
his own
boar.
tiny menagerie, of
Yeah.
different paper animals. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like the animals, the tiger would pounce on the boar, the buffaloes like that. And
Yeah.
uh he was happy with those toys. I mean, and then he would also recall the hardships of being a mixed race or he was having like an identity crisis of what I mean he felt out of place with his Chinese descent because the other people were around them would really were racist and
Yeah.
would make comments on him, his mom, and then one of the uh one of also his memories regarding this origamis are when one of his was it the neighbor's son or just
I
some,
think his classmate Mark,
yeah, his classmate
yeah,
brought
who
his
had the
classmate
Star
brought,
Wars thing, the Star
yeah,
Wars.
he brought Obi-Wan Kenobi
Obi-Wan use the
with,
Force.
yeah, he used the for Obi-Wan
Yeah. It's
Kenobi
like,
with
yeah, one
the,
of the neighborhood boys, but was also his classmate in school. Yeah.
yeah, his classmate bought an action figure of Obi-Wan Kenobi with the sound effects and the
Mm,
lightsaber like that. Then one thing that also then they played with it, but he was he it I think um he subconsciously compared it with this origami which had the breath of life. So of course this origami would act on their own. So it's pretty cool if you have like that kind
yeah.
of toy like that, rather than just an action figure. So however, since it wasn't the it wasn't very, what do you call this? It wasn't cool or in during their
Yeah.
time and their
It
place.
was
So
made. Mark said it was made out of trash.
yeah, it was made of, because during that time the Lauhu or the tiger origami was already quite old. So
Mm,
he was already in a deep state of repair. They would patch him up
yep.
occasionally when he the tiger would suffer some damage when he was playing with it or he got wet and like that, because their origamis would roam the house. They would just let them. And uh yeah, his classmate called it piece of trash. So he got uh also the tiger origami got, I think, upset
Mhm.
and attacked Obi-Wan Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure and got destroyed. And then Mark ran to his parents and um
But I
told
think, yeah,
told them
Mark
about it.
proceeded to tore Lauhu
Yeah,
in half, the tiger. Yeah.
yeah, not before they tore the
Yeah.
tiger. So that was the first, I think, breaking part of his I think that was one of the biggest impact regarding his mixed descent, of why the other kids were playing with toys like that, action figures and whatnot, but he was playing with origamis that had life. And it I thought that he was out of place, and as he grew up, he slowly got distance with his mother when they were eating, and his mother would try to speak with him. Uh, of course, she knew little of English back then, so whenever she tried to speak with him, he would always say, he would tell her to speak in English, or else
Mm,
he wouldn't talk with her.
yeah.
And then his father also, I think, was also feeling the pressure of having a very different wife compared to the other people. I mean, compared with these other people. So I think he also felt it and sided with this guy, his son, and told her to speak English too. So that was the start of um their going apart with his mother as he grew up. So that after that, he wouldn't really talk much with his mother, and his mother then his mother then tried to learn how to speak in English and do American what American women do also.
Yeah.
So
She
so
was
that
even given like a cookbook, right, by the
yeah,
husband to do American dishes. Yeah.
yeah, she correct. She was also given those cookbooks. So during those while they were having a rift within their family, he since the origamis were made by his mother, he also stowed it away in the attic other than keeping it together with him like he used to when he was a child. So yeah, and then until until then they grew up. He grew up until then he found out that uh her his mother was suffering some kind of disease. By the way, he knew about it when he noticed that the his origami were no longer moving because
Mm.
uh I think he connected it that since his mother gave them the breath of life, if they were no longer active, there must be something wrong with her. So then that was when he went back home and caught up with his mother and father during that time. And then before she when he visited his mother, um she gave him one last request, I think.
Mhm.
Uh there was something, a festival about the spirits or the dead, I think.
The King Ming, yeah, when the
Yeah.
I
There
think the
was
dead will be visiting Earth or something like that. Yeah.
there was during the festival, she his mother requested him during that festival or during that occasion, he would read I would read uh his I would open his tiger origami and read something out of it. So if we remember, his classmate tore the tiger origami before, right? But
Yep.
secretly his mother was repairing it. I think she was preparing it for this time that she left a message, or she wrote there how she felt about her whole life being with them. So that was her request, that when that festival came up, he would open the tiger and read the message there. And then that was when he discovered how his mother felt during that time, being um bought, uh most like she was someone who was poor. She was sold as maid in order bride, and
Mm.
then that she had a very bad life before, and then that's when she chose to be that a mail order bride. Then when his father married her, she also relayed how hurt she was when that because that is uh as people, we are very social creatures, and
Mhm.
just like naturally, she no longer had a family back then, and then she was married. Then I think she wasn't really expecting much from his father, but having a child, she was really hopeful to have someone she would really cherish, and would return back the same kind of love she provided him growing up. So after that incident, for he wouldn't really talk to her because he was embarrassed having a Chinese mother. Uh Not to mention a mail order bride as a mother.
Yep.
She wrote there how she really felt and how painful it was for her to go through all that time, and she tried her best uh to fit in with them, but you can't really deny your your
Yeah.
genetics.
Yep. Your origin. Yeah.
Yeah, your genetics or origin, as how even though she would she mingled better later on
Mm.
in her life with the others would treat her better than, like, when during that time when his classmate visited the other wives or the other women who came to their house, didn't really talk to her and would even talk bad about her in her front. She was uh, they didn't really hide their disdain
Yeah.
uh, about her. Then that was when by the way, since um since though his mother learned English and like that, but I think as um when you write something, I think you would go back to your native
Yes. If you want
language.
something authentic, yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah.
so that you can express all
Mm.
that you wanted.
Yep. Yep.
So she wrote that letter in Chinese, and he wasn't a since he was no longer using Chinese much and didn't uh practice it. He didn't know how to read, so he looked for someone in, I think it was Chinatown. He looked for someone to help
Mm.
him read. That was when he discovered um those words and finally realized how how she how his mother felt all his life, all her life.
Yep.
And that was and this letter was the boom.
Yeah. It was very. It's like
Very,
it the letter. It reminded me of that was how I remember, if I remember correctly, that was also how Salamanca ended, right? Like with a
yeah,
letter. That was bam. It was
it
yeah. It
was
was
like a sucker
it's
punch.
yeah. It was like very powerful. And then I think, yeah, after that letter, you only had like a few more sentences, and then it's basically the end of the short story.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, very, yeah, very, that's how do you say this, very, very powerful letter right there, right? So I think, yeah, we can now dive in, because yeah, this has, this story tackles a lot of stuff,
yeah,
the
very, very many.
racy,
Even though it's
yeah.
very short, he
Yeah,
really
yeah, like
tackled a lot
you can
of,
talk about a lot, like, yeah, the racism of a
yeah,
different, the of the racism of, another culture in general, once, especially if if this person from another culture, refuses to adopt
yeah,
the culture of the current country where he or she is staying. And then, the how do you say this, the distance between parents and children, as children grows up, like, we have this, or most people, we have this phases, like teenager or stuff like that, where we become distance with our parents. And then yeah, and then, yeah, you have this how do you say this, that regret at the end, and so on. Yeah, so I think, yeah, first we talk about France, maybe about this race or culture thing, because, I think, even in here, the how do you say this, the setting was really US, right? Like, it was like, I think, Connecticut. And then
yeah,
the mother, came from Hong Kong. And basing on the details from the story, I would say it's probably 60s or 70s, something like that, because, it was still that people children are still playing Star Wars action figure and all these things. So must be the height of the original
Yeah.
Star Wars trilogy or something. So maybe 60s 70s they still didn't have a video game and stuff. But yeah, here you can really see that even yeah, as early as that but even until now, you still hear news of like in the US where Asian people, get suddenly attacked by, right? So like we would have thought that, this is something that that's already gone. But like I would like to ask, is this something like unique to like US or something like that, or do you think this general behavior of having someone that is foreign and then come to another country, is this like some sort of alienation? Is it a general phenomenon, like does it so like I'm imagining maybe, I don't know, American that will, let's say, come to the Philippines, do they get that same treatment and so on? What do you think?
Yeah, I think discrimination, not only racial, is natural
Mm,
in most of our societies. Basically, because of um, I think the main cause here is one is the culture,
mm,
and most is the, I think, the moral compass of the, or how I mean how the community's morality was developed.
mm,
So most uh we couldn't really deny, uh of course we would be I mean uh suspicious or wary of other kinds of people who don't look or who didn't come
yep.
from the same community as us. But
Mm,
I think the discrimination uh does stem from uh the basic, I think one of the major failings of many cultures is that um the moral foundation uh of when bringing up kids or other or growing up isn't empathy, because
mm,
if that is the core value that is taught uh to all people, it's the same as the egg, the story
yeah,
that we described. I
the,
think that
the
is
the
the
first one, yeah.
ultimate, yeah, that is the ultimate form of do unto others, or the golden rule, right?
Mm,
But even as that we were taught the golden rule, but I don't think as kids uh we would really comprehend what it really was about. We're just told that do unto others what you want others to do unto you. And as kids, we don't really know the full spectrum of what our actions and consequences are. So I think that is a poor way to teach kids, rather than teaching them more about empathy, right? Like what teaching us how would you feel like that, or um teaching kids how to see from the
mm,
perspective of others and be more kind in their approach to everyone. Because yeah, if we follow that the egg story, it might be all over
yeah.
again. It might be doing things to you, because yeah, that I think that the lack of empathy is one of the major things discrimination stems from. Because what would you really gain from discriminating another person?
Mm,
It's just like you're discriminating other people just to make yourselves feel more superior, right? uh
yep.
and we saw how that ended with Hitler. He thought
Yeah.
The Aryan
That's
race
the
was
ultimate, yeah,
the
example, yeah. If
ultimate
Yep,
form. So yeah,
yeah.
he started a world war because of that. So yeah, I think the major thing was we couldn't really fault it in the culture because um we wouldn't really be perfect from the start, starting from the Stone Age like that. You wouldn't really expect empathy to be
Mm,
at the forefront, but we are already at the stage of, even I think during that time, uh I think empathy was no longer an alien notion to us humans, but yeah, just most people uh just like I think most people um resonate with the idea that they are their group, regardless if it is racial or not, because within their group there's even within races there's discrimination, like the poor and the rich, like that, uh
mm,
not just among uh just like not even racial, because even racial, even if you are you had the top very high standing, you'd still be discriminated. One story or anecdote I remember well was of Muhammad Ali, a black American boxer who
Muhammad Ali, yeah, yeah. Heavyweight, yes.
when yeah, he told a story when after he won the gold Olympic medal in boxing, he thought people would treat him well because he
Mm,
was an Olympic medalist, and then
yes.
he went in a diner and ordered yeah, he ordered he went into a diner and ordered the waiter or the server there didn't want him in that
Mm,
establishment because it was not for black people. And then one of the famous lines I could remember from there was the server told him, "We don't serve Negroes here." You know, and then
mm.
he replied, "I don't eat them either." So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's really a huge divide caused by discrimination because of lack of empathy and
Mm,
the I think the basic sense of people to belong to a group and
mm.
have it have them
And then
think that
be
they
wary
are
of
better
outsiders.
they
Yeah,
are better than the others.
yeah.
Regarding about our yeah, we also have regarding the discrimination with our country. For example, dealing with foreigners.
Mm,
I think it's unlike from the other countries, since we're a third order country, so we practically look at foreigners as very rich or very
yeah,
successful people.
yep.
And yeah, we would the kind of discrimination here is though it's not same as the others where they would exclude them. Discrimination here is more on taking advantage of the foreigners since they can't speak the language, they don't know their way around here. So yeah, the discrimination part here is all about taking advantage of these foreigners.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting, like to like usually these how do you say this, this type of discrimination and stuff, it really like starts with how do you say this, with the learned or the like the old groups of people, right? But yeah, before I dive into that, I think yeah, one of the reasons like you mentioned plus like Franz Hitler and stuff. I think during his time, like people were like as easy to accept, that there are some races that are better than others, because during that time there was this now defunct area of science which is known as eugenics. You heard of this, where
Yeah.
people like they have like they said, it's really a fact that there are specific genetical lines that are quote unquote inherently bad. So it's like, yeah, that was how they justified, then it's we're actually doing humanity a favor, because we're calling out we're segregating the what those with the bad genetic lines. But of course, yeah, it's some very messed up science right now. No one's practicing it anymore, but yeah, it exists. It's called the eugenics.
Yeah.
Eugenics. Yeah, so that was but of course, even prior to that, genetics was like, it's a very recent thing. Even before that, people were already doing slavery and stuff. So it's really, it's something that was inherent. And then during the time, during World War II, it was like given a more it was given a, how do you say this,
Was
a some,
magnified.
yeah, it was magnified because of that eugenics thing. Yeah, and in fact, that you have this like the anecdotes about who's that guy from the Nazi Germany who does experimentation. I forgot his name. Dr. Mengele or something like that. Like he is dubbed the angel of death. So they actually, yeah, practice this thing called eugenics, which is yeah, which was very sick. So it's good that after the World War II, that area of science was like was done with. But yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, there's something about uh the origins of this discrimination and stuff usually start with the people that are of how do you say this,
Power.
from the older people, or the people who are in the know. Like, you remember the scene where they went to the in the short story, where they went to the new town, and then there were this the marites, when
Yeah.
the dad served them food and then said, make yourselves at home, because my wife doesn't speak English, but don't think she's rude. It's just that she really can't understand English. And then the son was there, and then the dad had to like go out to take care of some bills and stuff. And then they were like, when he was away, the two marites, like, I quote it here because it's very insane stuff. He seems like a normal enough man. Why did he do that? Of course,
Yeah.
why he did do that, referring to why did he marry a Chinese woman, And then, yeah, and then the other woman replied, something about the mixing never seems right. The child looks unfinished, slanty eyes, white faced, a little monster. But then, yeah, the way it's very casual, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's really as you grow up, it's really embedded. And then they were like, do you think he can speak English? And then they saw, so here we see the name of the main character is actually Jack. Hello there, what's your name? Jack. So the main character said, that doesn't sound very Chinesey. Okay, so yeah, that was insane. So yeah, so as you can see, yeah, it's older people that you usually have that. And I think, yeah, like I would argue, that the discrimination that the kids have, I think, is something that they get from their parents. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, but like left on their own. Of course, that's another, yet interesting stuff. There's like this novel called the Lord of the Flies. Like, what happens if you leave kids on their own, and then they develop their own society and stuff. But I would argue that the most of this discrimination stuff comes from what they see from their parents and stuff. And so that's why when we go to the turning point scene where we have, Mark and him, uh I think, yeah, at first they were like, the issue wasn't even about him being Chinese and stuff, right? Like, they were just
Yeah.
playing around. And then it was like, it was like the tension started with Jack destroying Mark's toy and stuff, and then him calling the toy trash. But then after that, yeah, I think that's where it began. The discrimination began in his school. But I think prior to that there wasn't. And then that was the time when he kept on asking, do I really have, like, chinky eyes and stuff like that? And then his father began understanding. And then Jack started demanding, we are in an American home, we should be eating American food, because they kept on eating Chinese. And then the dad was like, other people eat other families also eat Chinese food, and it was like, but we're not the same as those families. Yeah, so yeah, that was the start, and yeah, it was, I think it started from the bullying from school was a turning point, and yeah,
Yeah.
with that, yeah, with the kids prejudices that they learn from their parents and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, kids can be brutal, right? Like if you
Yeah.
you start that labeling, I think, yeah, kids can be brutal, right? If like they have someone, they latch onto a specific argument, or you have chinky, and then that label, it never goes away, in elementary or something, right? Like
Or when you shit your pants.
yeah, that's like, I know, like the kids can be brutal. That's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah. It will really stick.
yeah, it will really, yeah, scar you for a lifetime. And then, of course, like, we've been there, like we've been kids,
Yeah.
like I'm also guilty of that. Like you see someone, and then everyone's like, this guy, like during that time, like when we were kids, it's just you think you're just having some fun, but
Yeah.
sometimes we don't pause and think about how it feels to be that in that guy's shoe, right? Like, oh, what if I was that? Yeah, like we don't have that,
Correct.
we're
We
not mature
don't
enough yet.
have
Yeah.
the experience, or
Yeah,
we
I know.
don't
Like it's
really
it's just in
full.
it's just in hindsight, that we realize, damn,
Yeah.
that was that wasn't nice,
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, yeah, that's one of the, yeah, the main thing is the racism and the discrimination, which, like I said, unfortunately, still exists. But yeah, it's very powerful, and what made it authentic is, the author himself, Ken Liu, is really Chinese, so he really knows what he's really writing from experience, like I'm pretty sure, like he really knows, he's talking about, right? So I think, yeah, it
Yeah.
can really be powerful. Now I understand when, you remember, France, when we like submitted short story to Sir Ian to like attend the writers workshop, right? And then we
Yeah.
wrote some very generic, you remember? And then I think I remember, yeah, Sir Ian's comment was like, it has to be rooted with something that you can tell other people. And so, like reading this, for example, I really knew what, like your story becomes more genuine if, if you're telling it from a, like, for example, here it's very unique, it's Chinese and stuff, and then Ken Liu is Chinese. And so now I understand, if you write something that is very uniquely Filipino, for example, like in our case, if let's say we write something sci-fi or fantasy, it would be more powerful if it's, coming from experience, rather
Yeah.
than
Correct.
writing something generic about, like knights or something, or some, this
Yeah.
one, the impact's really different, if you're writing from that very personal lens. uh yeah, but I think, yeah, the other very important part, Franz, is, this general alienation that he has
Yes.
with his mother, which started from, like, again, like I said, he was now being bullied in school. And then it started where he became he looked at his face, and he denied any, Chinese indicate from his face, that he was really Chinese. He would look at himself in the mirror, like, oh, my eyes are not slant, I look just like dad, and stuff like that, which is very sad when you read the mom's letter, where
Yeah.
the mom
Correct.
mentioned that when Jack was born, she saw the faces of her mother, her father,
Of
her
our
her her
people.
ancestors and stuff, because she was afraid that, when she was telling about her history from memory, her experiences when she was growing up, she was afraid, that maybe that wasn't real, right? Like, maybe I
Yeah.
just imagined, my parents and stuff. Maybe those things never happened. But then when Jack was born, she saw the faces of her parents and her father. I think, yeah, that was very powerful. And yeah, during that time, she was really very happy when the kid was still growing up. And then, eventually, as kids grow up, yeah, that's that when the alienation happens. In fact, in here, it's even more magnified, because you have the race dynamics also going on. But I think, yeah, would you agree, France? Now this thing is general, right? Like when we hit the stage when, we are at the, I don't know, high school or stuff like that. Like when we go to like grade 6 and high school and stuff, we have this how do you say this stage in life where we hate it when we go somewhere and then our parents still come with us, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
I
have that.
agree.
Yeah, we really I think, yeah, that's really that's like a normal stage, right? Like the stage where you think, it's very uncool if you go to like a grocery or something, and then your mother or your father comes with you or something like that. What do you think? Yeah, but the way I observe it, like it's a general thing.
Yeah, I think kids or teens are embarrassed
Mm,
by the way their parents or guardians would act, because I think during that time it was the notion that what they do were uncool and
yeah,
stuff. So uh we as teens wouldn't really have want our reputation damaged
yeah, yeah,
by that. Like he's already this old, but his parents still go with him to there and there and there like that. So it's like saying that you can't stand up on your own like
yeah.
that.
But I think, yeah, that's also that's I mean that's maybe the root of that problem, France, right? Like, because in school we have this, like, at that stage when we jump from like grade 6 high school, like, that's a stop where teachers emphasize, you have to be independent, and you have to be you're old now and all these things. And I think, yes, it's somewhat backfires, like, us students who interpret it to be like, okay, so then I shouldn't be, going out with my mother or
Yeah,
father or something like that. Like, if I'm walking in downtown and then my classmates see me, oh, Marvin's still with his mother, like, right, like, I think
yeah,
that's one of the I don't know how, yeah, how teachers could phrase it better, but I think, yeah, that's one of the reasons why is because of that. Like, we are taught independence. We are, it's being emphasized that, you're already a grown man or grown women, you should be able to do, things on your own and stuff. And
yeah.
yeah,
I
and then,
think
yeah.
I think like the same with most schools right now,
Mm.
integrating the native tongue, though I think it backfires now because most most kids don't know the native tongue. But I think if it was implemented during our time, I think we would understand it better, because
Yeah.
yeah,
I know. I mean, yeah, speaking
especially
about
things,
native tongue, it's like,
uh,
I don't know, until now, it's equated with like something like being Baduy, right? Or,
yeah, right
Bisa
now it
like,
is
for example, in our
referred to
case,
as
we're
baboy.
Cebuanos, right? Like, Bisaya is like, when you say
Yeah,
Bisaya, it becomes, a point of ridicule, right?
derogatory term.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
derogatory,
because
which is sad, because, that's our race, that's our.
yeah,
And I think, yeah, like, looking back, for example, France, in science high, right, we have this thing about the badge and all these things, when you speak in the
correct.
dialect, right?
Yeah,
And so I don't know, like, maybe unconsciously, like, some of that, like, we took it consciously to mean like, how he's speaking Bisaya, very, very low class. He doesn't know how to do
I
English and stuff.
I don't think that would be the case. Considering I think many of uh many of us in science I came from SPED and Science LM, where
Hmm,
we have
hmm.
started that
Yeah, you have that trend, yeah.
yeah, we have also started that rule of
Mm.
not speaking in dialect. I think we understood the purpose for us to learn or practice English more. But yeah, we still view it as a pain in
No, I
the
mean,
ass,
yes, I
but
understand
not
that. That's
the
that's how
doing.
that's how of course, teacher will not say, "Oh, you
Yeah,
speak English,
yeah,
because Bisaya is Baduy and stuff." Of course, they won't say that. They
yeah. I
say,
think
"Okay, it's so
the
that we
way,
practice English and stuff." But, like, what I meant is unconsciously, right? Like now, because this is the educated way to speak and
yeah,
stuff. Then I think
nah,
unconsciously it has an effect on how we view, our own native tongue, right?
no, I think unconsciously, rather than Baduy, we view it as a pain in the ass, a royal pain
Mm,
in the ass, because it's not only difficult to keep on speaking English, but you when you get caught, you pay a fine.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
You pay
Yes.
a fine, and that the reason most of us are there because it's public school and with our
Yeah.
limited resources. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
really
remember like first year high school I had, you remember France, they write our names on the blackboard. I
yeah,
have like the, I
top
usually
one.
have the top, right? And then I have to, like, it's either pay or you donate a lot of floor wax or something like that.
Or catch another one. You catch more, so you
Yeah,
catch another
we
person
were
and
we were very good at that. I remember like we
yeah,
debated, like there was a song, I'll be the one, and then we're like, wait, how come it's the one? And then O is if it's if it's how they say it, if it's a vowel, the rule
yeah,
is that it should be the, right? The, I'll
yeah,
give the badge to you. It's insane, right? Like it should be the one, and
yeah,
then we went to Miss Ahir. We're like, oh mom, it's so confusing. How about if it's vowel? It's I think yeah I couldn't forget this because the way Mom Ahir, I wasn't satisfied with Mom Ahir, Miss Ahir's
explanation.
rest her soul. Miss Ahir died when we were in high school, but I wasn't very satisfied with the way she explained it. She just said, some words, the rule is there are exceptions, but I think looking back, I realized that the proper explanation is that when you pronounce words like one, for example, it's pronounced with a W in the beginning, right?
Yeah,
One, it's W. So the rule should be it's still the, because every time you have a consonant, you have the, but then if it's vowel, the air, the octopus or something. But one is different because it's W. But the way she said it, there are just words, where it has to be the, and then it was very funny because we had to retrace, right? Because everyone was like speaking the one, the ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, also considering now lots of parodies and memes are are portraying how English English is a, they say
Yeah.
yeah, part of the meme or uh parody was French is hard, Spanish is hard, and they quote that similar to that the one. Why is it the not the
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
like,
it's
like
yeah, it
eight?
becomes a meme. It's confusing. The rules
Yeah,
are confusing. Like
like
houses, and then you have mouse is mice.
yeah. Lots of people are really poking fun with the English language being more complicated
Yeah. In
than
fact, yeah, I think that really that thing about our education system, about that. I think that's also the reason why people are very easy to like call out someone when they have like wrong grammar and stuff. I always tell that to my student, that something that I notice is that if it's English, we're like we almost equate it to something that's akin to intelligence, right? When we forget
yeah,
about like the Japanese, who are very intelligent people,
correct.
who are not very good in English, but the problem is, one of the problems I see is that people equate it, that your fluency in English with intelligence. And so when people, you have, like, let's say, I don't know, Marian Rivera, for example, when she tweets or she writes something and then there's a wrong grammar, people call her out right away. And I take issue with that because what another thing that's another subject that if someone makes a mistake, people don't call them out, but rather they just accept it and then admit that they are also weak in that. And that's I'm talking about mathematics, of course. You see this
Yeah,
phenomenon, France, where we like, I do wrong in math, and then we are almost proud that we are bad in math or science. Like,
yeah,
I'm also like that. I suck in math. All these things. It's like we take it as a pride, right? But if it's English, it's like almost a sin to be like, you don't see people, wrong grammar. I'm also bad in English. Like, so my point is, I usually tell my student it has to be on equal ground. So either we call out both, right? If
yeah,
someone becomes wrong in grammar, so we attack them like, that's very stupid. How come wrong grammar? Then we should be equally vicious in mathematics. If someone makes a mistake in math, we should attack them the way we attack English mistakes, right? But it's different. If it's math, we're like, I'm also bad as well, right? So we're lenient. Or we do the other way, is that
yeah,
the way we treat it in math, we should also treat the same way when people make a mistake in English. We should also say, yeah, English is hard. I'm also bad
yeah.
at English. Like, I don't know
Correct.
why there's this. If it's English, we're like,
I
stupid, that's
think
wrong. And then if it's
I
math,
think the
yeah,
reason you already mentioned it earlier.
mhm,
Remember when even now I think when you see parents with kids or other older generations with kids,
mhm.
when the kid knows how to speak English, they would praise them. Unlike
I know.
if the kids if the kids know
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
if you see, for example, you see a kid, let's say a kid of a street vendor
Mm.
helping out, then you pay the kid, then the kid will give you exact change. Don't see people telling them, very bright, very
Yeah, I
bright.
know. It's always English. It's always English. That's the index. That's why, yeah, that really that feels
Yeah,
very. I don't usually react like I don't know with
I think
relatives and stuff, but
that
for me
is
it's very
how it
cringy.
was
Like
reinforced.
this guy is gonna grow up to be a very smart man.
Yeah,
Just
I
because
think
I don't know.
that is what reinforced that culture of defying those that could speak English
Yeah, I
rather
know. Yeah.
than the other basic other aspects or skills of kids. So yeah, I
Yes,
think
exactly. Yes,
it
it's
it
we put premium,
already,
right? We put premium on
yeah,
English, yeah. But
it's
like sometimes, yeah, it's helpful in a sense that the Philippines is like one of the best English speaking countries, in
yeah,
Southeast Asia and stuff. But yeah, sometimes it can be too much, right? Like putting premium in that,
yeah, the way it is valued is not the
I think yeah.
not healthy.
Now I'm imagining France like that's the reason why we can like now like sometimes we take it for granted like right, but I really
Correct.
meet some people who are really find it very tough to even parse their thought in English like
Yeah,
like us we take it for granted, right? We converse in English, but some people looking at like us, Francis or Marvin are very smart. And I think yeah, so we can be thankful for that the badge thing that we started in high school. So now I'm thinking, why don't we do that badge thing for like in math or something, and then you do a mistake in math, give the badge to this guy, he's very stupid in algebra. you know and then you find someone who's a mistake. Let me give you a problem, how do you solve it? It's wrong, I give the badge to you because you're dumb in math. Why don't we have that? you know
yeah, but
yeah, I
it
mean,
would it would be very difficult because you'll need to
I know you need to
examine.
bait them like, I refuse to answer that question.
Yeah, but you also need to you also need to examine what they did, and if they refuse to show it to you, you can't do anything. Unlike English,
Yeah,
when
yeah. Yeah,
we
English,
speak,
yeah. We have to find a way to implement that, France, like a
and
badge,
and then it's
mathematics badge.
also easy to slip, like a slip of the tongue, right?
Mm.
That's when we are always caught off guard when they it's like they're baiting
Yeah.
you like,
It's very
the
stupid, right? There's like, you remember, France, there was like a boundary, right? In science
yeah,
high, when you ride the pedicab, and then beyond that line, after
yeah,
if the pedicab is past that, then it's fine.
it's
The
free.
badge is useless. You can
Yeah,
now speak in.
there's
Yeah,
immunity.
I know. I remember those days. Yeah, 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 it's insane. Yeah, but in that case, yeah, going back, I'm looking for that line. There's that line that struck me. I can't find it. Something like, you realize that you love your parents and then they're already gone. You remember that
Yeah,
line, France?
that's
Yeah, I
correct.
can't find it, but yeah, that was something that's very powerful, right? Like something about, yeah, that's the sad thing is, usually we slowly, so we enter that phase, right, where we think it's cool to be independent away from mothers and fathers, and then we go back to that phase again where I want to spend time with my parents and stuff, and then sometimes, yeah, it becomes too late. You think, yeah, that's like for me, like personally, one of the things that I'm thankful is that my I was born when my mother is still 18 years old, so that I get to I reach that stage, where I care for I want to care for my parents. They're still around because the age in the difference in age is very tiny. But
Small.
I think, yeah, in general, other people may not be so lucky, right? So that's why,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that line was very powerful. Yeah, I'm trying to look for it here. But yeah, what do you think about that, Franz? About yeah, the one, yeah, I'm paraphrasing here, but you read that, right? He said something like, one of the
right.
saddest things in life is you start caring for your parents, and then it's too late.
It's
Now
too
they're
late.
gone, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I can't find it. Yeah, but yeah, that was also, yeah, one of the amazing lines that I found
Yeah,
here.
I think it also goes with the theme on how our culture or society shapes our relationships with our family. So
Mm,
I think with uh Jack's or family, I think it's really in his case it's an abnormal one since his
yeah,
father looked for a catalog bride.
from the catalog, yes.
Yeah, his mother doesn't speak much or do anything with him.
Mm,
Then the society also frowns upon that as being discriminatory. But let's say if we relate it to our culture, like uh in our culture, people have kids or family to help each other, right? Or
yeah,
to
to like
to
their retirement
raise
investment.
their yeah, aside from retirement investment, I think the the original the original purpose of a family was to raise
Yep.
their chances in
Mm,
survival.
yep.
So rather than more mouths to feed, more hands to gather food or build shelter and protect and something like that or extend the line. But we somewhat carried it on. But yeah, as you mentioned, as retirement
Mm,
retirement insurance, the kids are retirement insurance. So it became more of a toxic relationship between
mhm,
parents and child that most children don't really have that much affection with their parents since they were treated as laborers since the they could remember. They would view those kids that had affectionate relationships with their parents, that they would eat out. You would see them coming to school, their parents would hug and kiss them, something like that. Or their parents would bring them snacks or a change of clothes during lunch or
yeah.
when they go home. So um, as kids wouldn't really know much. What we would only develop is envy between what our own relationship with our parents being more just like it's not some of the kids wouldn't really feel that they were in loving family. I think
Mhm,
most of them just see it as um their parents putting their responsibilities on them. And then later on when we grow up, that is only when we realize that that's not the case. They were just asking a little bit of help like
mm,
that.
yep.
So I think that's what ruins uh, the the relationship, because it's not really, that's one of the things that we I think we lack in education, the aspect of the emotional side, because uh, I think it's more important developing it early on than learning fractions and such,
Yeah, yeah.
because that would really change how you would live your life, rather than you can learn fractions later on, even though it will be too late. But I think there will be bigger impact with your relationship with your family if during that age uh, it was properly explained or conveyed to you that these kinds of stuff are sometimes necessary for your type of family, or like that envy is natural, but you would also need to view the situation of your family, how it came like that. But well, I think it's a really hard subject to, I think,
Yeah.
form for our own Department of Education. But I think what the other countries are doing, having more reinforcing their social relationships early on,
Yeah, at a young
in
age, right? Like
at
instead
a
of the
young
usual.
age,
Yeah, yeah.
rather than teaching them words and
Mm,
writing or letting them write notes. Yeah, I really
mm,
thought that that part of that time was absurd. Like we were young, then we were told, you write the B flat or what that kind of I was
yeah,
like, what the fuck am I going to do with this?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah, because you would see that musicians would usually those musicians that could have people that have talent with music to take up music as their main livelihood
Mm,
usually come
mm,
from well off families, right?
mm.
Those that they take
Yep.
piano lessons, violin
Yeah, yeah. As a
lessons.
kid, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you'd
Violin, yeah, yeah.
you did money. That's what that's at the public school. The public
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just playing we play with sticks, marbles, we play with dirt.
Mm,
How the hell would we reach to
yeah.
that part? Yeah. I think there are many more necessary things to be taught to young people, because I think this kind of emotional or how we understand our society brings more
Mm,
impact to us growing up, because we can't really take back that time, just like his regret with because if he'd only, I think that was his regret, if he'd only understood how his mom felt during that time,
mm,
rather than knowing stuff that we can just learn later on, where we would use it mostly in our careers and like that. But yeah, it's really not too late to learn skills rather than understanding other people or our own mankind.
yeah. I was looking for that. I don't know if I imagined that line. I can't find it. The line that I said, yeah. But in any case, yeah, I think yeah, we covered mostly the things that we needed to talk about France, about Paper Menagerie. Yeah. So like I said, yeah, with the first thing I read this, I think 2018 or 2017, something like that. But yeah, it really stuck with me. So very very good short story, especially that latter part. You know. So
Correct.
anything else you want to add, Franz, before we conclude our May 2023 session of Book Lovers Club
Yeah, I
about
think it was well chosen also for since in May, Mother's Day falls in
oh
May.
yeah,
Also,
yeah. I didn't even realize that. You know, I was just like, oh, what's a good fantasy that we can do that is a short story. Yeah, because I'm not. Yeah, like if it's fantasy, I really have to look around because I'm not that. When it's short story, because like I said, for me personally, I think the fantasy, at least in its traditional form, is really more suited to the long form, you know, novel
yeah,
in an epic
novel.
form. So it's for sometimes it's kind of rare for me to look for like a nice fantasy stuff, but yeah, it does allow me, you know, to explore and read. I do have like a I have like a book called how do you say this? The Big Book of like short fantasy and stuff. But yeah, this wasn't there. It's not in there. But this is very good. Yeah. So next time, yeah, in our next fantasy session, I'll try to look for something
Yeah,
very powerful stuff. But
it's
yeah,
hard to find short. You
mm,
mean if we? say hi, the hard fantasy. It's hard
Yeah, hard
to
fantasy,
say.
yes. In short form, right? Like
Yeah,
because
because
you do have to do world building,
most
magic
most of the hard
systems.
fantasy I know
Yeah,
are in
they're
battles.
really epic. Yeah, they
Yeah.
really work. Yes. Yeah. But I think yeah, so now next I don't know, yeah, let's try France next week if we can insert it, we can discuss it because it is like how do you say this? It is horror. But I'm thinking so let me show this. I don't have a hard copy right now, but wait. My Kindle is acting up, but it is of course wait, let me do this. Yeah, the title France is called is it I think it's The Color Out of Space. That's the title. Let me see. I'm pretty sure we can find how do you say this? I'm pretty sure we can find uh a copy from the internet. You see it?
Color with you.
Yeah, color out of space. Uh yeah. You know who wrote this?
No, I haven't read it yet.
It's HP Lovecraft.
What?
So yeah, so I'm
Lovecraft and space?
it's HP Lovecraft, yeah, The Color Out of Space. I got curious, so to be honest, I haven't finished with the story. I'm still reading it. I'm like maybe somewhere midway, but
Yeah.
every time I look at list of like best horror short stories of all time or something like that. It usually ends up like somewhere at the top. Like in some list even it's number one.
Oh.
So now I'm very curious. Like of course we know HP Lovecraft from the Cthulhu mythos, right? And
Yeah,
all this,
is
you
one
know,
of the greats of horrors.
yeah, the classics, and he's like the thing about cosmic horror and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious about this short story. So of course, one that's even older than him is of course Edgar Allan Poe. But I think yeah, we can look at some works of Edgar Allan Poe later on. But I think yeah, we would be remiss if in one of our horror discussions we won't be doing HP Lovecraft. So
Correct.
this is the
Yeah.
one, The Color Out of Space, which is yeah,
Nice.
it's cosmic horror. Like something like the freaky thing about cosmic horror is it's unlike the usual horror where there are monsters or spirits or ghosts and stuff.
Extraterrestrial.
Yeah, cosmic horror is like it's like you can't do anything about it. Like you're helpless. You're just like a puny human. This is something cosmic, man. This is like
Big,
bigger
uh,
than everything
bigger
else. So yeah,
scale.
yeah. So I'm very curious. So let's do this. Uh, the horror out of space. So this is for this month, June 2023, and then the one for July is the. So you still want to do that, France? The whole book of the short story of my life collection, or you want maybe we choose like one or two out of that, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think
Or we can
that's
attempt, right?
doable
The
because
whole
yeah,
collection, yeah, it's doable. Because by then we won't be discussing one of the longest stories. There was of course the one we discussed last time, which was a story of your life. So since we already talked about that, then we can skip that and then focus on
mhm,
the other stuff. So I think yeah, that has Tower of Babylon, Division by Zero, all these stories that are pretty great. So I think yeah, we can do that and it's still gonna be like towards the end of July or something like that. So I
yeah,
think that's something we can discuss. Okay, so yeah, if you're watching and then you want to read with us, this is the one that we plan for next time. I'm pretty sure you can find this online because it's HP Lovecraft. So
yeah. It's HP.
I think by now his works are in the how do you say this, public
I
domain.
think it's in the AA live org.
Yeah, something like yeah, the public domain because this is a pretty old work, which is something
Eh,
weird about copyright, right? Like I think the for example, Winnie the Pooh. Like I think it's public domain now, and so people are making this
oh,
very weird horror. There's like this indie film where it's Winnie the Pooh, right? Like but the killer is wearing like a Winnie the Pooh mask or something like that because it has become public domain. So it's insane. So you can imagine, in the future where these characters slowly become public domain. So the first one that happened was to Winnie the Pooh. So anyone can use the Winnie the Pooh property and then do whatever they want with it. So there's one who's doing like horror, who did horror with Winnie the Pooh, which which is insanely weird. Yeah. So yeah, that's that's the thing about copyright and stuff. But yeah, so we'll do this next week. France. Sorry, yeah, we'll try next week, so that will
Yeah.
still be within June. It's just a one short story, The Color Out of Space. So yeah, so far I'm reading it. Yeah, it's a bit fascinating. Although I have to admit, right, I'm still halfway, so I still don't see why it's like, the people rank it as like one of the best short stories. Maybe it's just, I don't know, out of respect to the historical contribution of H.P. Lovecraft, or maybe it's really scary. So that's why I still haven't finished, so I still can't judge. But yeah, that's what we'll talk about next time. Okay. So I think yeah, you have any more things to add, Fran? So I think yeah, it's clear. So that's for next week, which is for the month of June, and then for July we do the sci-fi again, which is the whole short story collection of Ted Chiang minus Story of Your Life.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
think
we
yeah. I think the last thing I would add about this is you I think you've noticed some things going on the internet where there's a term called boomer, right?
yeah, boomer, yes, yes, the
Yeah, there's been
boomers
like
and the Gen Zs, yeah.
yeah, there's been like arguments about that, like the Gen Zs are the ones I
Yeah.
think the people are I mean like us older generations are saying Gen Zs are like this and that, but
Yep.
um taking it all from what we discussed here, it's it's nothing else but the really the fault of the older generation, since most
Yeah.
of what we though we could unlearn it, but um not everyone can do that. The majority would still have those teachings they receive as children, very
Mm,
reinforced by the even until the day they die. So yeah, there's if the Gen Zs or the newer generations are like this, as you call them, fuck up,
yeah. But
it's
but usually
really
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
really not their fault.
I know, yeah. But yeah, usually yeah, there's that tendency about, separating generations. Usually there's that tendency where, usually we are like our generation, during our time,
Yeah.
you have that, right?
we
Like
also
I think
we also
every generation does that, right?
yeah,
Like, during our time we do this, and then I think us
correct.
it's our turn. I see people our age, right? They're
Yeah.
younger people are doing this, and then of course some people I know will be like our age will be like, you're doing this during our time. I'm like, this it sounds like my parents, like
Yeah.
we're becoming like that. But yeah, I think yeah, I'd say yeah, every generation has their own, challenges that they face that are, really unique to their generation. And yeah, it's always like you argue, it's always the sum total of all the generations that came prior, leading to what they have now. And yeah, and then I think yeah, the only thing that I really want to say is, if it's something, it has to do with like it's something that they're doing now that's more comfortable or that's more better than what we had
Yeah.
during our time, I think we shouldn't take it against them, because that should be the purpose of how, humanity's evolved, right? We should
Correct.
always make like tomorrow a better place for our future generations. So I don't get people who are like, now you have this during our time, it's just like this, right? But why? That's the point, right? Like we do our best so that the generation that will come after us will have a better, they will live better, right? Like in
Indeed.
fact, we are living better during our time when we were growing up, is because we had some of the things that the good things that came from the previous generation, right?
As
So
the
yeah,
quote says, I forgot who was that quote that we are standing on the shoulders of the
yeah, the shoulder
giants.
of giants. That's Isaac Newton. Yeah. I
So
only went this far because yeah, I stood on the shoulder of giants. Yeah, something like that. Yes.
yeah, the one
So
thing funny about that is there are people who use those events or like that to also push their own agenda.
yes,
But
yes, exactly.
their agenda is not really that helpful. It's just
Yeah.
self-serving. They use the sacrifices of the previous generation like that,
Mm,
glorifying it, and then
yep.
they don't really they don't really get what they don't get any lesson, or they don't take away anything from those, and they just use it
Yes.
for their own benefit.
Yep.
And many people, especially with social media, are also fooled by those.
Mm,
So yeah, it's really a bad time for
yes.
critical thinking.
Yes. Yeah. The social media, it it muddles everything. Okay, but yeah, in any case, yeah, I think that's a good stopping point, Franz. So yeah, we
Yeah,
thank again the work of hopefully, yeah, in the future we can try the three body problem novel. To be honest, I haven't read that yet. I did read the collection of Sishen Liu that was
mm.
translated by Ken Liu. Uh,
So he translated this
he
work.
translated the three body problem, and of course, but these are his original works. But
Yeah,
initially he was known for translating another
Chinese
Chinese
author.
sci-fi author giant, which was
Mhm.
Shishin Liu. But yeah, maybe we can get back to him. Ken Liu has a newer collection. Let me see it here. I think it's called The Hidden Girl or something like that. I haven't read it yet. It's
Mhm.
fairly new. It's his new, yeah, this one. The Hidden Girl and Other Stories. So I'm pretty sure it will contain, like, because this I read these have very good short stories here, right?
Yeah,
Uh like the Paper Menagerie and stuff, very top quality. But he has a more recent one called shucks, this one. The Hidden Girl and Other Short Stories. So it's still by Ken Liu. So,
nice.
so this I still haven't started, but yeah, this is fairly new, and they have a very long, TBR to be read list. So hopefully, yeah, we can we can get into this. Yeah,
Too much to do.
yeah, too much, yeah, too much to read and too little time. But yeah, so again, next month, so Francis and I are gonna be doing this. So maybe I'll
Okay.
try if I can secure I still don't have a hard copy of a Lovecraft book. I'd love to have one, so maybe I'll buy. Maybe next time we'll also talk about Edgar Allan Poe's. Of course we met him right in college with
Yeah,
the Cask of Amontillado, right? So we know
and
that
nevermore.
yeah, we know Edgar Allan Poe also writes some mean horror stuff. But in any case, yeah. So thanks, Franz, for that wonderful discussion about the Paper Menagerie. So next again, this for May 2023, as Francis mentioned, it's how do you say this? It's also Mother's Day month, so very apt. But yeah, so this month is gonna be the horror one. So we're gonna do the color out of space, and then hopefully we will be discussing it towards the last days of June. So maybe next week. So this got delayed because Francis and I kept pushing back with our schedules. But hopefully the horror one we can discuss next week. Okay. So with that, any last words, Franz?
Uh, yeah. Uh, yeah. That I think that's all I think we've covered
Yeah, we've
already.
covered very nicely. Very even though the story was very short, I think
Yeah, it's a
a lot
very
of good
impactful,
discussions emanated from it. Yeah.
very
So all right.
impactful story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'll see you next time next
Yep.
week,
See
hopefully,
you
for
guys
the
next week.
next episode of the Book Lovers Club. Okay? So thanks, Franz. I'll end the recording in 3, 2, 1. Stop.